Hello again, this is Dylan Ryche for Fingerstyle 360 with part 2 of my Composing with Voices feature. If you haven't checked out part 1, you can head to fingerstyle360.com and download the last issue there. Today's lesson is kind of a continuation of where I left off last time. We're talking about breaking down a composition into individual parts, voices. You might listen to some of your favorite guitar players and hear melody and harmony, bass line, technique, tapping, harmonics, delay, effects, etc. And you might think, how could I ever possibly write something like that? I can't think of all those things all at once. It's too dense, there's too much. And the process I'm trying to illustrate with this lesson is that maybe we don't have to think of everything all at once, all the time. You might have some success if you break it down and focus on one element. So it's kind of compartmentalizing, writing and playing. So we're going to try writing something without even being concerned whether we can play it or not. We just want to write something great, because that's often the first step. Sometimes we can lose sight and get so caught up in, tapping, artificial harmonics and all this stuff that we forget about trying to write a great melody or a great song. That's what we want to try and do, right? So once again, we want to try and write something, and we'll worry about whether or not we can play it and how we're going to play it later. So in this lesson, I'm going to talk you through a kind of mock composition process using this technique that I'm talking about. So you're gonna have to pretend along with me a little bit here, okay? So I'm in drop D, same as last month, and we're going to pretend that we're jamming along here, and we've stumbled across a riff that we think is really cool. Example 1 in the magazine, and it goes like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, fairly simple. It could be more complex, but I want to keep it simple to illustrate the process. So D minor pentatonic riff, I think, and I like this. I put a little quarter tone, if that, bend there. I think it sounds cool. Right, so we've written this riff. We think it's great. Now we want to come up with some melody, some harmonic content, some different stuff on top of this riff that's going to work well, right? So you could sing along with it. There's no rules here, right? We could sing along with that or hum along with it, get another guitar player to play it, get a loop station if you got one, and just loop this riff, or just record yourself playing it for 2 or 3 minutes. Alright, so let's pretend, once again, we've recorded this for 3 minutes, and we're just playing some stuff, okay? We'll try some chords, a whole bunch of D minor stuff, and in doing so, we've come up with a few things that we know sound really cool and we like playing, and we like hearing. So example 2 are some dyads that I've come up with that I'll play for you, that I think sound nice over that riff. Goes like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, that's cool. And example 3 are some melodies that I've come up with as well. And I'll play for you now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again. Another one up here. something different, one up here. All right. So in our pretend composition here, we've got a riff that we like, and we've got a bunch of stuff that we know sounds good on top of this riff. So now the question becomes, how do we play this together? Because we're talking about fingerstyle guitar here, right? So the first thing I'm doing is I'm putting down the flat pick, and you may find it helpful to write this down on a page if you write music or read it. Put it in a notation program. It might help you to see where all the different beats line up. A good a starting point as any is, why don't we just superimpose one on top of the other and see where we stand. Hey, maybe we'll get lucky. So that's how I was fingering those dyads, right? With his first and second finger, it was kind of just... and my riff's down here. So let's see what happens. Okay, so for me to play this riff while I'm doing that, I'm sort of going to have to go... which is... it's not impossible, but it's kind of awkward. Let's see what happens next. So that's not going to work, right? So what about if I use those fingers? It's a little better. So I could go... still a little awkward. How about we utilize this open D string? So we're trying to think our way through this. How can we put these things together? There's our open D. What if we play a riff like that instead of like this? That feels pretty good. Not bad. It's getting a bit crazy. Could make it even easier. And second strings. Same thing. Instead of... okay, so that much feels pretty comfortable. So it's kind of boring process to watch, in real time, probably. We're trying to move our fingers around, try the same pitch on different strings, and try and figure out a way we can play these two things together. So that works for me. Now next, I was going up to here, if you remember, which I could play down here. Getting a bit insane there. So now I'm gonna have to do something different. So I'm gonna have to give up playing this C down here, but I have number 1 up here on the 10th fret of the 6th string. So I can keep that riff going while I'm up here. Alright, so you see what we're doing? Let's move on to our melodies. That was our first one. So that's pretty good. What about this one? I'm going to have to shift my finger down. If I do that, I'm sort of a bit tangled. If I do that, then I've got some freedom to hit that C. Those fit pretty good. Now, remember my third melody is right up here in the 8th position. So, like before, that's not going to happen. So I'm going to have to use this again, 10th fret. Like that personally, I prefer to use that open E there. So instead of going, I prefer the tone there in the open position. So I would go like this. One thing I should note here is in that melody, you might be able to hear something called rhythmic displacement, which we've got a repeated rhythmic phrase, which is, but we're moving it around, so it starts on a different beat each time. You might hear that. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So as we start on beats 1, 2, 3, and 4 there. Right, so hopefully you can see, what I'm getting at here. To me this sounds pretty cool. And really all it is this riff over and over and a minor pentatonic sequence like this. So it's nothing too complex, but when you piece it all together, it sounds great. Which is what I'm trying to get across here. We can write these things individually and put them together. So one other thing I want to mention here about voices that I'm going to do in our completed piece here is we're going to try switching the voices. So we've got our bass line down here. So a neat thing we could do is flip it up an octave. This way we keep, the thematic material intact, but it gives us some contrast, right? And now we have all these bass notes free to do something different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to step through a few, root notes of some chords: D, F, B flat, C. So it kind of ends up like this. Alright, so hopefully that wasn't too boring for you, but you know, this is something that's a very small shift in your thinking, but it can make a big difference to your own compositions. You know, if you can break it down to something that can stand on its own, like a great riff or a great melody, and then harmonize it, arrange it, and add all the bells and whistles later. So let's put it all together, and our final piece here called I Hear Voices. Let's see what it all sounds like. 1, 2, 3, 4... Well, there you have it, composing with voices. Hopefully you enjoyed the lesson. And if you did, please let me know. Head to my website, dylanryche.com. Shoot me an email. Let me know what you thought, and if there's anything you'd like me to write about in future articles also. And until then, keep practicing. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And thanks for supporting Fingerstyle 360 also. I'll see you next time.